back to Runway from the Rav, a Project Runway podcast. My name is Riley.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we'll be discussing Project Runway All-Stars Season 6, Episode 13, Making Fashion History. Not to be confused with last episode, which was called History in the Making. I could see how you might get confused out there at home, but we're professionals. So today's actually the finale episode for the season, which is odd because it's an odd number. I feel like normally the season finales are on like episode 14. Mm-hmm. But this one's episode 13, and that's fine because we did have a double elim, and then we went ahead with only 3 finalists. So Ken was eliminated last week, and we went ahead with just the 3. But that was kind of an odd episode last week where we had twist after twist. This episode, no twists. It was just a few days left to finish your collection, and then you're showing, not at Fashion Week or even someplace kind of interesting. They actually showed on the exact same runway. Yep. But we'll get to that in a minute. So we basically start on day 3 of them making their collection. Because if we recall last week, they had day 1, which they all were like cutting patterns and doing things like that. And then on day 2, Alyssa came in with a twist. So now they're back to day 3. So they don't get extra time to make their 7-piece collection. But as they walk into the workroom, I guess there's a tiny twist where they had helpers waiting for them. So at Fabio's station, he had Helen. At Anthony's station, he had Candace. And then at Stanley's station, he had Amanda. So these were all designers from earlier in the season who had been offed. And they were there to help kind of sew or help make patterns or do whatever. So they're not helping with the design aspect, really. They're just helping make the vision come to life. But that's nice because otherwise I don't think that one person could make like 5 to 6 good looks in like 3 days. And it's not like they give them like 12 hours, which obviously for like working reasons, I wouldn't want them there for like 16 hours, even if some of them would like that. That's kind of like cruel and unusual. Mm-hmm. But so that was kind of cool. And then it was nice to see Candace and Amanda again. Helen was eliminated more recently. But still nice to see some female faces, although I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. We've talked about it a lot this season. I'm not sure how I feel about all of the helpers being women. Yeah. I liked the women they chose, and I think they're strong designers, and I think they work hard, but it was just a little off to me of a season that saw the women systematically removed. Only one woman ever won, and that was Merlene on episode 1. And then when they bring in the helpers to help the male designers, they were all women. And I'm like, I'm sure the show doesn't look at it that way. They're just like, oh, we realized we should bring some women in. It just felt like, of course, the male's the designer and the woman's the seamstress. So I'm just going to get that out of my hair right now. Clear the air. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But at the same time, I love to see Candace and Amanda again. Mm-hmm. And Helen, I warmed up to later in the season. Early on, I was like, Helen's doing typical Helen stuff. But, and they were all helpful. None of them really brought any drama, really. So that was nice. And then we also learned that the designers had a choice that they could change or update their signature look. So that kind of was cool that they could, change it as they made the rest of their looks. But it also was a bit of a bummer because basically then you are making 7 looks. Mm-hmm. Like if you decide to change it drastically, and some of them did. Yeah. Some was just a little change, but some changed it quite a bit. So how did you feel about like the helpers or like the premise of this one that they're just going to work on their finales in the workroom?
Well, I definitely had the same reaction you did to like seeing all 3 helpers being ladies. But at the same time, like, it was exciting to see those faces again because Candace and Amanda were also some of my favorites too. So it was good to see them again. As for just like the premise of hanging out in the workroom, to me that was just like, it was a little boring, because like when you compare it to normal Project Runway, they get to go home, you get to see their studios, and that's just like a lot more fun. Whereas like here on All Stars, it's more about like the time crunch because they always have way, way, way less time. So
well, they're all stars.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. But I don't know. I just thought it was a little boring. It was nice to like get to see a little bit more work time than we normally get to, but it was just like, meh. And then just building up to like a runway show at the same place they've been showing this whole entire season. Like, they didn't even get to go anywhere fancy for that. So I'm just like, this is like still, it just kind of still feels like a normal episode, not like the finale.
Yeah, isn't it normally someplace else for All Stars? Like, I know it's not usually like a big fashion show, but don't they usually at least host it somewhere different?
I feel like they did, but I don't know. Could be wrong. I don't know. I don't remember.
I feel like one time they had like a nighttime like rooftop kind of runway, but this one was literally, it was a double-bladed battle axe we've seen all season with like 4 folding chairs. and we saw like we'll get to the runway part, but like it wasn't a real big crowd. Let's put it that way.
Mm-mm.
Compared to like, obviously Fashion Week is Fashion Week, but
yeah.
So the only other big thing that really happened on day 3 was Anne critiques. So this was kind of their last chance with Anne, and in classic Anne critique fashion, she walks in the door and everybody just kind of looks at her but doesn't really look at her. I think Stanley listens to her the most of anyone and seems to speak more positively, and the rest of them are just kind of like, you'll see it when it's done. Anne has a big issue with seeing like the sketch or the initial like stuff on the dress form and the final version, which probably comes from the fact that she doesn't sew her own thing. She's not a designer. She doesn't make things, from this small idea to the final fruition product, whereas like a Tim Gunn does.
Mm-hmm.
Or Rebecca Minkoff does. I think her was better. It's kind of like when Heidi comes into the workroom in the normal season, where she'll like maybe love a textile or love a sketch, but then when she sees the dress form and it's like 30% done, she's like, I just don't see it. Or she'll make fun of something that it looks like, and it's like, well, it's not done.
Yeah.
So, although Heidi's favorite thing to do is like put on part of it and like parade around in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Anne, her critique was at least all-encompassing this week. She talked about, like, every look, so she made them walk her through, like, the order it would go, and then the color moments. I think she definitely helped Fabio to add in some color, and Stanley. And then with Anthony, and she encouraged both of them, too, to, like, kind of amp it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Anthony, who was like, well, I'm going to do some painting, I'm going to do some feathers, I'm going to have this patterned fabric, I'm going to do this. She's like, okay, so maybe you need to, like, pull some back. And he ended up removing the feathers, which, oh, thank God. I just can't think of a single look that's enhanced by feathers.
No.
It's like a ruffle. Like, you don't need it. But then she leaves, and that's pretty much it for Anne until the end, because she did stand next to the designers as they watched their looks go down the runway. Like, behind the scenes. She watched them on a TV like Tim does, and it was just so awkward. Like,
yeah.
Because she's like, wow, look at that one. And they're like, thanks, Sam. So, we'll just move along to day 4. Like, we got to see, this episode was longer as an hour, so we did get to see more in the workroom. But I think we'll just go through all the days, and then I'll ask you if you had any workroom moments, unless you split them up in your mind by day.
No.
Okay. So on day 4, they got to go back to Mood with an extra $250. So that was nice that we got to go back to Mood. There was no swatch, but I do think it was nice that they were able to go get more fabric since they basically had to add another look, but that they didn't do it right away on day 3. I like that they had day 3 to like plan out, that new look they had to make and make any other tweaks that they wanted to make to like their signature look or the rest of their collection, because some people wanted to add more color. So I like that they didn't go to Mood right away, because I think that would have been a disservice that they didn't have time to redesign. And then $250, you can get some fabric there, like for that, I would think. But no big Mood moments, to be honest. They had like a half an hour, and it was pretty much just, other than Anthony had his hair in like a tiny, tiny man bun, which we hadn't seen yet this season. I don't think there was any. Were there any Mood moments for you?
No, not really. I mean, I feel like I kind of covered it when I was talking earlier. Just like, it was just, to me, overall, just kind of boring. It was just like a normal, just any other workroom. A little more of a time crunch, more pressure, I suppose, but still, like, same place, same people, still working away. I don't know. Nothing super exciting happened. There was, like, one moment when Amanda was there, she had like a wavy zipper, and then Candace helped them out, and they fixed it. But I really like can't think of anything else that stood out to me.
Yeah, it was an interesting finale episode for sure. Like, I like all the designers. I like the designers they brought back in to help. They all seem to get along in the workroom pretty well, like making jokes, laughing, getting a lot of work done. But yeah, it didn't feel like the finale. You're right. It especially compared to the pressure of the normal season where it is New York Fashion Week, or even if they could have had this, surely there's another fashion show that lines up with the All-Stars taping schedule, even if they have to like take a break for a week or two. You'd think they could line it up with at least some other event. Mm-hmm. Or at least, host it someplace different than your own normal runway. Like, get like a cool location or something. Go back to one of those museums in like a cool area, or I don't know. But whatever. So they get back to the workroom, and we learn from Candace talking to Stanley and Amanda that Anthony is short on time. And that because of the way that Anthony works, he focuses on the details and stuff instead of making all like the bases of his garments and then going back and doing like final cutting or hemming or detailing. He kind of works on one piece at a time. So like that day he'd been working on like the same dress or gown, which it turned out to be like his finale look, which I think was very strong and probably, required some extra work. But we also learned that he's never made a collection before. We learned that from Candace. So there could be an issue there in terms of like he's just never worked on this many pieces at once that need to be cohesive and all done on the same time crunch before. Mm-hmm. He ended up being fine. But that's the only piece I could say like of this episode was like the tiny bit of like drama, and not necessarily between people, because I don't think Candace was saying it from a place of like being nasty. She was just like, I'm stressed because I have to help him, and I feel like I don't have enough to do to help him with how slow he is. She's like I'm making things, but because he was gonna scrap his entire signature look, and he did. He got rid of the whole thing and remade part of it because he didn't like that fabric, and he replaced it with another, I think, better gown. So, but that left, since he wanted to control quite a bit of it, I think that left Candace sometimes in the lurch of what to do. But he was fine, and it turned out they all had their final collection, so there wasn't like a moment of like, some naked model on the runway. Then on day 4, they also had their model fittings, so in come all these women to get fitted, and they'd already chosen the models they wanted to wear each look, whereas sometimes in the finale, we see them like swap them. Once they see the models in person and once the look is more complete, they're like, actually, how about you two switch tops, or like put that skirt on that skirt, like they'll change things up. I didn't see a lot of that. But it was a lot of people in that room. With all the models getting fitted, making them walk, taking pictures. So that was kind of interesting. Was there anything else from day 4, the models or anything with you?
No, not really. I think we pretty much covered it.
All right. Then on day 5, the final day, was a big time crunch. So they got 12 hours of help and then 1 hour after that on their own. So this was like a 13-hour day. Mm-hmm. And that day just flew by. Like I think that's when the zipper thing happened, when Amanda just walks over to Stanley and she's like, Stanley, what happened? And she just holds up this like wavy zipper that she had sewn. Like she had sewn that. Sorry. No, that's fine. She like holds it up. She's like, Stanley, what happened? Like, it's like, well, you did it, Amanda. And Stanley doesn't really work with leather. He used some leather accents in his collection, but he was like, is there a way we can fix it? And then Candace just happened to be standing there. And she's like, is it leather? And they're like, yeah. And so she gave him some tips on how to sew it. Because Candace works in leather a lot, which I think was nice that, they're helping each other out. Mm-hmm. And then Amanda was totally fine with redoing it. And Stanley wasn't like, oh my God, Amanda, you ruined everything. Like, everybody was totally fine. Like, Amanda was like, it's fine, I'll just redo it. It won't take that long. Like, it's no big deal. And Stanley was like, okay, are you sure? Like, so it was nice that there wasn't like, oh my God, you ruined my collection. I never want to see you again. It was all nice, mature handled, and Candace, willingly gave information she knew. So that was nice. But then, that was about it. I mean, occasionally we saw a look on Helen, because Helen's small, so she was able to wear a few of the looks while, Fabio was working with them. And I will say that Helen and Fabio had a pretty good relationship there working together. Just because Helen has had a little drama in the past on this season, I would say, but she seemed to work pretty well with him, and she even said in her talking head that Anthony was her favorite from the season because he agreed with her once, which is, a mature way of forming friendships. So, and then speaking of friendship, at the end of the day, all the helpers leave, there's a lot of hugs, and then the 3 designers left have an hour, and they're kind of working through things like finishing hems and working quickly, and then the producers or somebody brings in a cake and some champagne, and they then were able to have a toast and eat some cake and stuff after a long work day, and tomorrow they're going to have an hour to do hair and makeup, probably longer because they have so many models, and then kind of prep for the runway and then do the runway show. But I just wanted to mention again, we talked about it a little last episode, that I really appreciate the friendship and the companionship we've seen this season. These 3 men, and I would also include Ken in that, really seem to care for each other in a way that I don't think we've seen in Project Runway. And I think it's rare to see on TV in general that grown men, in this case, they're all happen to be grown Black men, having just positive friendships. I don't think you see that type of relationship very often. So I think that's really cool that even though they're competing against each other for a lot of money and a lot of potential for your career, that they were all super helpful to each other. They were all saying super nice things about each other and how they're all so honored to work together. And I just think that's refreshing to see in today's world, where it seems like everybody, is always trying to have their moment in the sun and complain and all that. So I liked that, to just see 3 grown men drinking their champagne and complimenting each other. I just feel like you don't see that, and I like it.
I agree.
And then technically day 6 was the day of prep. So that's when they do the hair and makeup. We see Fabio again make the bold choice to do teal eyebrows. Well, we could see them. I will give Rodial the benefit of the doubt compared to a lot of the makeup we've seen the last couple regular seasons. At least I could see it. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to, and I didn't like it, but I could see it. And I also think the hair was better this season as well, in many ways. So, do you have any final things to say before we get to the runway?
Nah, I'm ready to get to the runway.
Okay, so, like we said, it was the same runway as usual. Except for they had literally white plastic folding chairs for the judges. Yeah. And then they filled the rest of that area with chairs or risers of some sort, and they had people sit in them. So I saw a few designers from previous seasons, like Sean. Kelly was there. There were a few other people from seasons that I hadn't seen. Rebecca Minkoff was there, and a few other judges from throughout the season. But it was a pretty small crowd, I would say. Mm-hmm. Compared to some of the others. I mean, the room looked full, but it just And then our guest judges were Catherine Zeta-Jones and Zach Posen. I always love when Zach gets to be on All Stars, because he just looks at clothes a different way and looks at the the construction of clothes in a way that the other judges really don't. And then I don't really know a lot about Catherine Zeta-Jones' personal life, but she is a pretty woman, and she was well spoken on the show. And she was dressed in a garment that looked to me better than anything on the runway, but that's fine. So first up, now this will be a little long because they each had seven looks, but first up was Stanley, and his collection's color story was cream, navy, red, gold, white, pink, tan, and black. So a lot of neutrals and then a few pops of color, because the red and the pink were kind of the same tone. On TV it looked pink, but they kept calling it red. Mm-hmm. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it was a light red. And then all of his models were styled with black Oxford, so flats, ponytails, slicked back ponytails, and the models who had short hair, it was just slicked back, and then big hoop earrings. So first up, he had a Do you want to go, like, do you want me to explain it and then talk about that look? Or do you want me to go through all of them and then talk about the whole collection?
I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like normally we go through them all, but it's up to you.
Yeah, let's just do that then.
Okay. So the first look up was this big white trench coat, cream color trench coat, I should say, that kind of parted at her midriff and then fell back to reveal some high-waisted, wide leg pants. On top of the jacket had they were belt buckles, but they spray painted them black, so they just kind of looked like circle accents. And he had 6 of them, like large buttons. It had her hands were in the pockets the whole time, and then as she turned around, the back of the trench coat had this very interesting seaming detail down the middle of the back. The next look was a color blocking look that Amanda helped him out with, and this is a little like kind of like sheath dress, sleeveless, cut to the top of the thigh. It's white, navy, gold, and then it has the gold and navy are like really big, bold stripes, like 3 inches wide. And then in between those are little like 1-inch strips of like red fabric around. And this is just a really super, super simple little dress. And then the top of it is white, but the navy is cut in a way as if it was the top of the dress. So like curves over her chest, but then there's white there. Then he had his like color moment, which is Anne really pushed him to have. And this is a super, super simple, lightish pinkish red dress, with like a crew neck top, full sleeves, tight to the arm, and then a nice, kind of flouncy pleated-ish, like A-line skirt to the mid-calf. And then the next look was, I think this is like tan corduroy or tan. It's some type of thicker fabric.
I don't know what that material is.
I can't tell. It might be like velvet or something, but it definitely looks like a cushion or like a pillow or something, but it's tan. Again, it's kind of, the neck is cut almost like a crew neck kind of thing. It has sleeves that are a bit wider at the bottom, like by the wrist. This also cuts away just like around her sternum area and forms like a V. And then it's paired with a short skirt, high-waisted short skirt in the exact same tan, but then that is bedazzled with like silver discs. Like silver, I don't know if they painted those as well, but they just look like a little silver circle all the way around in 2 layers. Then next up we have a navy dress that looks like it's the same fabric. So maybe it's like a velour or something. I'm not sure.
Suede, I don't know.
Suede, that's probably it. It's probably suede. So this is a sleeveless kind of smock dress that zips up the front, has a V-neck, and then at the bottom, it cuts off just below the knee, and it has more discs, but these ones are painted either black or navy. It's hard to tell. So it has the small little discs from the last one in kind of a like polka dot pattern on the bottom part of the skirt, and then the very bottom hem is lined with like the big black belt buckles. And then next up we have, I don't even remember this one. Wow. I think it's separates, but it might be like a jumpsuit. It's hard to tell. So the top is like this sleeveless white and black, I don't even know, like smock top that's got a lot of pleating down, and it's very voluminous, and then so is the back of it. And then it's paired with, I can't tell if these are pants or a skirt. They're super wide leg pants that cut off, I think, just above the ankle. And it's either black or navy. It's hard to tell sometimes on like a screen. But they're really wide leg pants that kind of floof out and around. This one I can't describe very well. I can't describe any of this well. And then his final look was the signature look that we had seen before last episode. And he didn't change this hardly at all, except for doing some finishing on it. So this has the little black leather collar. It has a little like white and black leather bib. It's a super simple white sleeveless dress underneath it. Again, A-line skirt with a bit of like floof to it. It's got a little black belt at her true waist. The dress goes down to the mid-calf, and then it's got multiple layers underneath it. Some he hemmed, and then some he didn't, and were still like a frayed edge. Which at this point I'm guessing was intentional, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like he didn't. Like, it looks bad.
Yeah.
But it's got, like, layers of black and white under there. So, overall, what did we think of Stanley's collection?
Overall, this was definitely no contest my least favorite. So, to make that general statement. like, looking at the individual pieces, like, I'll just go quickly from the beginning. The, like, white or cream separates look, like, that one I just really didn't care for. I thought the proportions were, like, super strange. I think the top piece is okay. I think those, like, belt buckle details are, like, gigantic. But to me, like, what throws me off is the pants. The pants just feel, like, overly wide and baggy and, like, almost to a point where it looks like the fit isn't right. And then his next look, this one, the color blocking dress that Amanda helped with, this one I don't hate, but to me, there's things that don't look quite right. Like, I don't like that the bottom stripe is an inconsistent width. Like, it's much narrower than the other, like, gold stripes, which to me looks like a mistake. And then I don't like the neckline. Maybe it's just the picture, like the way that it's folding, but it looks like also that, like, navy neckline piece is, like, not even or not quite right. I don't know. Then the next one, that, like, corally dress, to me, I just don't understand, like, how this fits. Like, that was the overall thing about this collection, too, is to me, it does not feel cohesive at all. Like, I don't get the thread that, like, runs through the whole thing to connect it all together. But, yeah, this coral dress, it was just, like, there was nothing special about it to me. It's super basic. And the, like, brown taupey one, again, I'm just like, ugh. The cut, that slit that comes up the middle, to me, like, it could again just be, like, the picture and the way it's moving, but it, like, seems off center but kind of not in an intentional way. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, I'm not sure about that. And then the next one, the navy, I don't know, I don't love the suede. To me, it feels very heavy and just don't love it. And then the next one, the one you had trouble describing, the, I don't know, white navy black stripe thing, like, it's just, I don't know, very strange. I do not like the pants. I don't like the proportions overall on this. And then the last dress we already talked about, like, since he had some time, I wish that he would have fixed the hem, because he didn't do that anywhere else in the collection that I can remember. And so I agree, like, it just seems like a mistake. So, yeah, just overall, I'm like, I was not impressed. What do you think?
Well, and he even told Anne, because she asked him, like, what he was doing to his signature look, and he was like, oh, just some finishing. And then they cut to, like, the bottom of the hem, like, and it was still tattered. So I was like, so that must be an intentional, but it looks like he just cut it and then didn't hem it. I'm like, I think it would have looked better hemmed, or at least cut cleaner. I kind of like the first look here. Like, I like the idea of that oversized jacket. I think the proportion of the pants is a bit off, but I really do like that jacket. I think it's cool. The back of that's really nice. All of the suede looks, I don't like. The navy dress, it just hangs off of her, and it looks poorly made. I think that's the one where they had, like, the zipper issue. Mm-hmm. And while she remade that, I still don't think it looks quite right. I'm going out of order here a little bit, but that color block dress that's, like, gold and blue stripes, that looks, like, so boring and just, not great. Most of these are just boring. The pinkish red dress, honestly, I feel like you could make that in, like, home ec. That looks like a basic dress pattern. Mm-hmm. I mean, it fits the model well, but it felt so odd in the collection. Like, there's only, like, 2 moments of red, and it just felt kind of, his collection just felt kind of out of place sometimes, but his theme was, like, it's classic and it's bold. And I'm like, you chose neutral colors. Like, your pop of color until she pushed you to add red was gold. Like, and then that suede, the tan suede thing is just, yikes. The proportions on that are not good. Not good. And then I already said last week that his signature look is boring. It might be classic, but it's boring. And if that doesn't sound like Stanley's signature look, I don't know what does. classic and boring, and classic doesn't have to be boring, and we'll get to that in someone else's collection, but yeah, not my favorite either. There wasn't really a top or bottom. Everybody got critiqued individually, and then we just heard the winner. We didn't even hear like the runner up.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, and the winner is blank. So we're just gonna go through everybody's, and then we'll go we'll get to like the winner. So next up we had Fabio, and his color story was navy, white, yellow, and black, and so a lot fewer colors than Stanley's. And then all of his models were styled with turquoise slanted eyebrows, like big slanted eyebrows, and then white clogs, some of which had like a tape detail, like striped tape detail, and some were just left, but they were like white slip-on clogs. So his first look was his signature look from last week. And he changed this a bit because he had like a bird fabric that had like branches and little birds on it. He removed that from his collection entirely and replaced it with like a bold yellow. So he ended up making like a sunny side up egg t-shirt, basically. So this is the same top as last time. So it's like this white, kind of like modern take on a short sleeve like t-shirt. With these like slanted kind of oversized T sleeves. The front of the outfit has like this like rounded part cut out, like the entire middle of the shirt, and that's just yellow, sunshine yellow. The back of this has kind of an interesting part where the bottom part of it just kind of sticks out in a little flap, and then the skirt has this detail that he learned from his grandmother that I can't think of the word right now. But he decided to do that on the top half, and then it's blue and white kind of vertical stripes. And all of his models kind of like slicked back hair, also I should mention. So then the second look was that same blue and white striped fabric as the skirt, but now it's like a kind of a little like blazer top almost, or like, I'm not sure how to describe it, but it is short sleeved as well, kind of oversized, and then like the line of the sleeve, like hem, the stripes go the other way, and that kind of goes across her back in like a vent, almost like you have on like some like cowboy shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the front of this is closed over like her chest, and then right at like the sternum again breaks away to show like, I guess he has light blue in his collection again, because there's a light blue shirt underneath, and then this is paired with like white board shorts that go to the knee. Next we have some separates. So he has this gigantic sunshine yellow kind of like cardigan almost. So it's got slouchy sleeves to the elbow. It has a vent across the back again. A lot of volume and kind of interesting draping in the back. In the front, it's closed together just over her chest, and then it kind of falls open. We get another light blue shirt moment, which we didn't see exactly what that looks like, so it could be like just a t-shirt, I don't know. And he paired this with like gigantic navy blue, like, what are they called, like palazzo pants?
Yeah.
To the mid-calf. They're like super wide leg kind of pant. Next we have navy blue jumpsuit. So this cuts just above the ankle on the bottom of the jumpsuit, and then the top kind of reminds me of like a nurse shirt, like what nurses wear, like scrubs. But it's got a deep V, but it's a quite narrow V, and then it has large poofy sleeves, and then the back of those sleeves have like a little vent detail like behind her arm. And then next we have like this white smock thing that's got a zipper in the front. It's got very interesting draping detail in the back. It's kind of like brought together in like a diamond in her mid-back, and then kind of falls away. From the front, it looks kind of like a medical jacket of some sort. And then this is paired over like these light blue silk little pants that go to the, like just below the knee. Next up we have separates, and this is either black or navy. It's hard to tell. Little, I don't even know how to describe that. Little top with like flouncy kind of little t-shirt sleeves, and then a front panel that just kind of sticks out to show a bit of her midriff, and then the back has like two panels that kind of fall away from each other. But then the skirt here is a fabric I don't think we've seen yet, and it's not quite a mesh, but it has see-through parts, but it's like wavy. It's white and wavy, and then he gathered it in a few areas to make it more opaque. And then there's like a white panel underneath, so you can't like see anything. But it's kind of a sheer moment. And then his final piece here is a patterned fabric, so it's striped. It's black, silver, and blue. And he made this into a dress similar to one we saw earlier in the season, in like a dark teal. But this one is the striped fabric. It's got sleeves to the elbow, kind of oversized. And then the dress part has a teeny tiny little V slit in the front. The back is just pretty much left to do what it will do. And then the front has a slit up the front all the way up to the crotch. And then we see that she's wearing little light blue pants underneath, like little capri pants. And then this drug along the ground just a tiny bit. What did we think of Fabio's collection as a whole?
This one, I liked it more than Stanley's. I found it much more interesting and artistic, but there were definitely things about it that I did not really understand or didn't like. We should also note that he had this accordion music as his.
Yes. He was inspired to make the clothes by his grandmother, who taught him how to sew and to do that smocking technique. I remember the word for that one skirt. So he's like, so I better have something for my grandpa as well. And his grandpa played the accordion, so he decided to honor him in that way.
It was just kind of funny to see the audience's reaction.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I did feel like it kind of fit. It fit with Fabio. So that was kind of fun. I'll just do what I did last time, just go quickly through. On that first look, I'm glad that he got rid of the birds. I wouldn't say I'm in love with the sunny side up egg shirt, but I think it's better. I think it's improved without the bird pattern. But I don't know. This look, it was just okay. Let's see. The next look. Now that you've said medical stuff, I can't unsee it because those colors are so true. But a lot of his stuff, this look and then the next look, read very kind of grandma to me.
Well, he was inspired by a grandma.
That's true. That is true. So I suppose maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, these next two looks. I like the pop of yellow on that cardigan. It's kind of an interesting piece. But I don't know. Something about it, it's I think what makes it kind of grandma is maybe that kind of crew neck cut of the shirt under there. I don't know. But I don't know what else you put under there. These looks are just alright. And then I'm moving on to the navy jumpsuit thing. That, to me, the fit just feels off on this model. Maybe it's because she's so tall or something. But it just, I don't know. It feels too short. I don't know, a little too short. And I think the back is weird. I think the front looks okay. It looks more like separates, but from the back it's very, very jumpsuity, but kind of in a weird way, at least to me. The next look. This one, I like the back detail on that, white, cream, whatever kind of color you want to call it. I don't know, what would you call this? Just the top piece? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like an off-white, kind of.
I think the back looks really cool on this. The front's interesting, but I really like the back. And then those light blue pants, to me, they just look like pajamas, to be honest.
Yes, they do. That light blue silky looks like, pajamas.
And then this next look. I really don't care for the top, but I absolutely love this skirt. Mm-hmm. I think that skirt is so cool. I love the wavy hem. I just like that fabric and how he layered it. I like the length. I really, really like that piece. And then his finale piece. This, I think I would have preferred it without the pants underneath. but I suppose that slit goes up pretty high. But to me, I don't know. I think it would have worked as just like more of a dress. Because again, with those pants under there, to me, then it starts to read sleepwear. Because it starts to kind of, at least to me, like look more like it's a robe and then she's got her pajamas or whatever going on underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Overall, this collection I thought was far more interesting than Stanley's. But it was hit and miss. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I think I like how Fabio plays with proportion and kind of this androgyny of style, but I wish he'd taken it a little further in this collection. The final look, it does look like a robe, and he mentioned that like his girl wouldn't wear a dress, but in my lifetime experience, which is obviously not Fabio's or anyone else's, if a woman will wear a skirt out and about, she'll probably wear a dress out and about. There are people like me who don't wear either, unless I absolutely have to at like a wedding or something. But I don't wear skirts like to work. I don't wear skirts just out, so I don't really wear dresses either. But I feel like to say that like, well, my girl doesn't wear a dress, but it's like, okay, but you made like 3 or 4 skirts. What?
Yeah.
I do like that he made quite a bit of pants. He made like a short, he made a jumpsuit, he made those palazzo pants, and then he had 2 of the looks have like like these pajama capris. I think if he had rethought that light blue fabric, I think it would have been better. I also, the very first look where I'm glad he replaced the birds, although I'd like to know where else he would have used that in the collection.
Yeah.
Was it just where he used the yellow? Or what? So we would have had like a big bird cardigan in the third look? I don't know. But that first look just looks like a sunny side up egg to me now, and that just completely detracts from the skirt, which I think is a little too heavy and the proportion is off, but is a cool technique. The second look is nothing. She looks like a little sailor, especially with the shorts, like she's gonna go off and get like the little sailor hat. The third look, I like the color play here. Like I really like the color story on this. But it's such a huge cardigan, and then you pair that with like these huge oversized pants. I think this would have worked better if the pants were like a skinny leg in the navy. I think that would have looked pretty good. The jumpsuit, I hate it. The front, it just looks like she's wearing high waters. Like it doesn't look intentional, and the top just looks like scrubs.
Yeah.
The look after that, the white thing, I love the back of it, but the front with the zipper looks it just brings it down. And then pairing it with those light blue pants, I'm just like, so is that like her robe? It looks like the texture on the front panels kind of looks towel-y, so I just wish like it deserved the cool back. I wish the front and the back felt like the same garment. The look after that, I also like this skirt a lot. I wish he'd use that fabric or that kind of style in something else. But the top here, again, is just weird. It looks a lot like the top from the jumpsuit, and I don't get it. And again, I wish that skirt had a better top to go with it. And then the final look, it looks like a robe. And maybe that's what he meant it to be. I don't know. But it's weird. I like this better than Stanley's as well. I liked his color story better. And I liked a few of the pieces. Whereas with Stanley's, they were all pretty boring. And I really only liked that one white jacket. But this one, I'm like, okay, I like that skirt. I kind of like the cardigan thing. I kind of like this little bit. But I just wish he'd taken it to a next level or been a little weirder. Because he dresses himself really in a very interesting way. And he has kind of an interesting personality. So I wish some of these looks had a bit more of that Fabio fun or something. I don't know. And then last up we had Anthony, and his colors were black, white, blue, and green. And then all of his models were styled with like strappy heels, black heels when possible, black leather chokers, which were actually just strips of black leather that I think he had Candace cut and then tie into it's like a tied choker in the back. And then they all were styled with like short hair. So that means some of these models are wearing wigs. And they all look a little like Liza Minnelli, short hair. Not what I would consider like a Rihanna or an Audrey Hepburn short hair, but it's like a pixie cut. It's just slightly long and then like swept over, and they're all wearing like the identical wig. It took me a few models to be like, what's weird about the hair? that's it. So, but I do like that they all had like a consistent way all their models were styled, to kind of bring that cohesiveness without it being, we didn't hear too much this season about cohesion for the collection, which I do appreciate. And wasn't like, cohesion, it has to be cohesive. They like didn't talk about that at all, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think that word was said once, for this season finale. So, whereas that's Michael Kors's like next perfume, right? Cohesion. I think he said that once. Okay, so the first look here is a little black dress. It's strapless. Comes up on the top over her breasts in like two little points. He used his splatter paint technique on the front, and it looks like he used like white, gray, and blue paint that he just absolutely splattered it. This, I can't quite tell the fabric material, but I know he got velvet because he was like, nothing looks better than painted velvet, to which I said, what? But, okay. But otherwise, this is just a slinky little dress. It's got a little room at the bottom, like it kind of flows out a bit, but it's pretty skin tight. And then the back of the dress is kind of like a scoop back to her lower back. Next up after that, he had a white pencil skirt, super, super tight, with a bit of a V in the back so that she could walk. This is just incredibly tight skirt to the mid calf, and then the top, he's using that the dotted like mesh he's used before, like I don't know what this fabric is, but he made like an undershirt of it, sleeveless, sorry, but then over top of like the undershirt, so there's like a black bralette, and then there's a shirt, skin tight, made of this like black mesh with little polka dots on it, and then over top of that he made like another layer, but it's like a vest that she's wearing backwards. So the front is like the back of the vest that kind of comes up and out over her like hips. And then in the back is like the two front parts of the vest that would make like the front panels, but that's over her back. I don't know how else to explain it. I did my best. Next. Let's move along quickly. The next look is a white on white look. So this is a strapless, sleeveless little top. Really flouncy with some interesting sculpting on the front. It's kind of like a two-tiered. And then in the back also has some kind of flouncing to it. And then he paired this with some basically like capri trousers, pleated down the front and the back middle. Pretty tight. The next look, this reminded me a lot of Kentaro from last season. So it's a dress, and the top part is white, and then like it has straps that then in the back kind of just go over the shoulder blade, but otherwise it's a bare back. The front of the skirt has like this black, it looks like paper, but I'm sure it's some type of fabric that's been heavily pleated, and then cut in these like weird kind of shapes, and then just kind of gathered around. He did this in the music challenge as well. So then it's kind of gathered with a belt, but you just have these pieces of this like the pleated paper basically like around her waist in different areas, basically hiding all of her private parts. And then he has this black like tulle skirt that goes down to like her ankles, and then he splattered that with paint as well. Multiple layers of tulle. Next up we have another little black dress. This one is much sexier and like slinkier. So this one's off the shoulder. And then it has like a black leather belt on the front, but in the back it has like one strap. So it's like this asymmetrical kind of strap. And then the front has a really tight skirt to about the mid calf, and then in the back, he's done this before, it kind of looks like when they pin like a dress on you, or they put a dress on you and then they clip all the extra fabric, like when you're trying on a wedding dress or something and they put you in a bigger size, they like clip all the extra fabric. It basically looks like that. So he's gathered it up in the back, and it has like this big asymmetrical kind of like train made of the extra fabric, so it makes it look tight in the front and then kind of loose and flowy in the back. Next we have a jumpsuit, and this is made of a patterned fabric we haven't seen yet, but it's black mostly with some blues and greens in it. It's a very busy pattern, kind of like splotchy. So he did a similar thing here where the top kind of looks like a little like one of the dresses, but the back has two straps right over the shoulder blades again. And then the jumpsuit is kind of high-waisted. The pants go to the ankle, but they're not like broad leg or anything like that. And then the finale look is this just huge dress, like a huge gown, I should say, made of that same patterned material, strapless and sleeveless. Again, it's like gathered, it's like tight in the front to about like the lower calf. And then all that extra fabric is like gathered in the back in this huge V of a train. Like it follows behind her like a wedding gown. What did we think of Anthony's?
I think this was definitely my favorite of the three. I like you said, I liked his styling a lot. And I don't know, it was cool. It was a cool collection. So I'll just kind of go through like I have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
First look, I mean, I miss the blue. I'll say that. But I do think it's kind of cool that he went with black. To me, I think the paint splatter is a little unnecessary, and I don't love it on this first look. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't know. White splatters on a black dress. Meh. Second look, I don't really understand this like backward vest thing, but I like it. I think I don't know, I think the layers it's kind of cool. Obviously, there are a lot of people who would not be able to pull this off, but this model totally pulls it off. Mm-hmm. It looks really cool. And I like that he has all these different shapes too. The next look, I don't really like the top. I think it looks better from the back. But to me, it just it looks mismatched in a weird way. Maybe it's just the lighting of the photo. But are they two different fabrics on the top?
Oh, I don't know about on the top, but the top and bottom, definitely.
Because it's when I'm looking at the back view, it looks all the same fabric. But when I'm looking at the front, it's that top tier looks different. It looks like a more matte kind of white, whereas the bottom part of it looks, more shinier. But that could just be the lighting. But I don't know. I'm not loving the top on this, but I do like the pants. The pants fit that model really well. And I like the length with those shoes that he chose. I think that looks really nice together. Mm-hmm. This next look, totally agree with you, totally get the Kintaro vibes. And it's cool. This is one of my favorite pieces from Anthony's collection. I feel the same about the paint splatters on this. I don't think he needs it. I really don't think he needed it. I wish maybe there was a little more coverage in the back. So at least in this picture, there's some booty peeking out.
Cheeks.
I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I don't know. Maybe the model would like a little more coverage, but again here, I like the layering. I really like the top, and then with that open back. And here I think that choker piece, it looks cool against that open back. With it being tied in the back, Mm-hmm. But I like this piece a lot. This next one, this black dress. To me, it's alright. I think it looks really good from the front. Maybe not as much from the back. It kind of looks like the belt came off a little bit. Maybe it's supposed to be like that, but to me the gap there looks a little unintentional. But this one, it was alright. The next one, the jumpsuit. I really like this. I thought this was really fun and different, and I like the pattern, the print that he chose. And I like that he brought that same open back to this piece. I just think it looks really cool. And then his finale piece, I was out of all the collection, I was like, wow, this is the one that is this is the final piece in the collection. Right, yeah. It really was a standout piece. I think he's the only one that did that. And it looks so cool. he's done other like dramatic gowns like this, but I just think it's really, really cool. And I just like in his collection overall, I see more of like a progression from piece to piece. Like his, even though, like as you said, cohesion wasn't like a super important factor in this season's finale, like I still feel that that's important to have in a collection, and I think Anthony totally got that. So overall, I think his was definitely my favorite. What do you think?
This one was also my favorite as well. And yeah, I think there was some progression to it. And I also like that he stayed true to who he is. Like, he likes to make dresses and gowns, but he also has a flair for making some really well-fitted pants. The first look, to me, looks like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or something. It looks a little 90s to me. Just with, like, it looks kind of like velour or, like, I don't know, velvet. And I don't like the paint splatters at all. I wish this look had been replaced with something else. I don't think it's very strong. But then by the time we get to the second look, I'm all on board. I don't understand the top, but I like it. And the skirt is flawless here. That skirt fits so well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like classic, super hot pencil skirt. I just really like it. But then since it's in white, it's kind of like this play off of it. And then just the layers of the top, I really like. The front's a little weird how like the top doesn't, like, it stands up like 6 inches. It's kind of weird, but I don't hate it. The third look, Zach Posen loved this. I like the top and the pants. I kind of like the look. It's a little, the front of the top I don't love, but the back I do. And then the pants, again, they just fit. I think they fit really well. The fourth look, to me, I like, but it doesn't fit with the rest. Other than the treatment that he did to the top, where it has like the 2 straps in the back. He didn't use this like kind of like paneled paper anywhere else. So to me that one's kind of stood out. I like it. Again, I don't think he needed to paint splatter anything. The 2 looks that he paint splattered I don't think were better because of it, but I'm glad he chose to paint splatter and not feather.
Yeah.
Because I'm really worried about where the feathers would have been, because he originally was thinking of putting a feather on every polka dot on the second look. And that would have just looked terrible.
Yeah.
So, but this look, the fourth look just kind of stands out as it doesn't match to me. I'd like it, but it just doesn't seem to match. And then the next look after that, the little slinky black dress, it's fine. I think just about any starlet or anybody would gladly wear this on like the red carpet, or to like wear it out to like a fancy dinner or something. I think it's gorgeous, but it's a little basic. It just has this kind of signature look in the back where he like pulls it all together. The jumpsuit, to me, I'm never a fan of a jumpsuit. There's like been like 2 jumpsuits on all Project Runway that I never liked. This one, to me, because of the back, looks like overalls. Because the back kind of looks like suspenders when it's holding up pants. Like, I think that technique works better in a dress, or like paired with a skirt. Because from the back, it just looks like she's wearing suspenders. And then from the front, yeah, it just looks like overalls to me. But I really like the pattern, which I normally don't like pattern fabric, but this kind of looks like how Monet painted water, where it's like reflecting like the greenery, but he always had like black and stuff. I just really like it. It's a heavy pattern for sure, because it's a lot of dark colors, but it just kind of meshes well. I don't know why I like it, but I do. And then this final gown, oh my god, what a moment. When that walked out, you knew it was the end of the runway, like of his collection, and 2, you knew it was the end. Like, if someone had, like, I can't remember, maybe it was Isaac who said it, like, if anybody had to follow this, they would have been screwed. This is such like a collection finale piece. And the gowns train was as big as the runway. Like, it just had this huge impact. And then this is a really great model. We didn't learn the model names, or if we did, I don't remember them this season. But she has a great walk. And she just walked like this was like her runway. Hello, I am here. Look at my gown. And then, yeah, I like how he, it surprised me a bit, but I like how he styled all his models with the choker. Because it saved a few of the looks from looking like a little dated. Except for the first look. In that case, it's like a 90s choker to me. That just looks really Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I love, but doesn't look super modern. But I think like the choker necklace with this big gown is such a cool look.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like that, where you have like her whole open, since it's strapless, like her whole like décolleté and everything. And then the top half of her back, and then you just have this like delicate little choker. I love it. It seems to pair well with like the strappy heels. Like it's the same idea. Some of the wigs are better than others. I'll put it that way. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but his was my favorite. So then we had individual critiques for each of the designers in the order that they went, which I think is nice, because you rarely get individual critique in this show from the judges. So like they went through Stanley, Fabio, and Anthony. Stanley and Fabio's all seem to be more positive. Like they seem to have fewer bad things to say. And then with Anthony, they had like half good and half bad, which confused me. But the judging of this entire season has confused me, because they'll say good and bad things about the winner and good and bad things about the loser. And you're just like, wait, what? But they had like, it seemed like to me anyway, they only had positive things to say for Stanley and Fabio. And then they had like a mix of things to say to Anthony. And I was like worried, because obviously from last week, you guys know, like I kind of wanted Anthony to take it all. And now I'm like, and I liked his the best. So I'm like, no. Like, I liked Fabio's as well, but they've just been loving Stanley. And I was like, oh my gosh, is he going to get the Aaron edit where he like won and then wins it all? But it turns out, after the critique was done, the three of them are standing there. They didn't go like, okay, runner up or any of that. It was just like, and the winner is Anthony.
Yeah.
He gasped, as did I, because I had been traveling, so I wasn't able to see the show live, and I foolishly looked on Twitter, and I saw something that made me think Fabio won. I immediately got off Twitter. I was like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Why did I go there? I haven't seen it yet, because I wasn't able to watch the show yet. And I saw something that was worded as if though Fabio had won. And I was fine with it. I would have been fine if any of these three had won. I think these were all strong collections. I just think that two of them were stronger than the others, or the other one. But I was like, okay, Fabio, like maybe it looks better than his signature look there. So I was shocked. So Anthony and I covered our faces and gasped at the exact same decibel at the exact same time. Like, if this was like a live reaction show, like on YouTube, we both went and covered our face at the exact same time. It was as if I had won, because Anthony's my favorite, like all season long. So I was shocked, but I was so happy. How'd you feel? Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like you said, the critiques are always so hard to read, and so I really did not get the vibe that Anthony was in the running. And then I'm just like, wow, okay, I'm fine with this. But,
so that means Anthony, now he was an all-star veteran. The only rookie we had left was Stanley. But I think when you look at the collections, like Stanley's was a little too like yesterday and a little too classic. I think Anthony's was really strong for like where fashion is right now, with a few new ideas thrown in. But then I think Fabio's was a little more about like a futuristic idea of fashion, not necessarily where we will go, but like kind of a more like different proportions, a little more androgynous type of, so they went more with like the today fashion. And I think I agree. I think there's parts of Fabio's that just, he has some ideas. I wish he'd just taken them like that next step farther. And then with Anthony, I think pretty much all of his pieces except for two, I was pretty much like, yeah, you nailed it. So I definitely agree with that winner. And then out comes Anne with some champagne, and they celebrate there with Anthony. Now they didn't bring out like Candace. I kind of expected her to get to come out onto the runway and like celebrate, since this is some of her hard work as well, not design wise, but like work wise. So there was like no Helen, Amanda, or Candace out there. It was just the three final designers and Full and Wider. They didn't even have Anthony's family there. Like there was no family at the runway show. Just a low budget affair. And then some of the judges were super happy. Like it looked to me like a couple of them were crying a little bit. So happy for Anthony because he's so sweet. Like he always seems so nice. So, do you have anything else to say about this episode?
I mean, not really. I'm really happy with the ending. I mean, kind of like we talked last week. I don't know. I really thought it probably tipped in Stanley's favor.
Yeah.
So I'm pleasantly surprised with the winner. Pretty cool.
Yep, same. So I'll get to my quotes of the week, and then I think we'll give our closing thoughts on the season. And then we'll talk a little bit about the future of Project Runway, because I've heard some things.
Okay.
But I'll do my quotes here. So, Anne, talking to Fabio on his collection, said, "I just want you to be you even louder," which I agree with. And I think she pushed him to like add the color, which I think was a good idea, the yellow. But I feel the same way. Like Fabio has this interesting personal style and then such an interesting way of designing clothes. His finale was like halfway there to what I think he could achieve. And maybe it was a time crunch thing. Maybe it was a confidence thing. I don't know. But I agree. But I liked that quote. That was like a good Anne quote. Next up we had Anthony saying that being in good company can push you to do your best. And I think that is so true, especially when it comes to creative work. When you see what other people are creating and you just get in kind of this like zone of design and then you're bouncing ideas off of other like-minded people, I think you can just make some of your best work when you're, good company. I really like that this season, that especially as the season has gone on and we've dwindled and people have gotten closer, I just really like the friendships they've built and they feel genuine and they feel real, which I think is nice. Next up, we have Fabio talking about himself. He said, "God gave me a mind that thinks, and it thinks about pockets, so that's what I have to do," which I think is funny, especially coming from someone who is often frustrated with women's fashion sometimes, with the tiny pockets we get in jeans, with the non-existent pockets we get in most other garments. And I know there's like a conspiracy theory that it's like that way you buy purses and stuff, but or that it's like, well, that way it's a clean lines. But I'm just like, no, I want a pocket to hold my phone. It's some chapstick. Like, help me out. But I like that a lot of that Fabio. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a fun little phrase. Next up, we have Isaac on Fabio, and he said it's delicate in its oddness. And then he pushed again that he wanted it to go further. But I just liked that phrase. It's delicate in its oddness because Fabio's looks they could be heavy. Like when you make things like over proportioned or large, they could be heavy, but none of his looks, other than the one smocking skirt, felt heavy. They looked light and airy. They were just oversized. So I think that is true. And then Anthony, after learning that he won, and he's just standing up there shocked, they're like, what are you feeling? He's like, I don't know what to feel. He says, I don't know if I want to laugh, want to cry, want to call my mama. Which normally they bring your parent out with you. Like they bring your parents or your family. But I guess that's only if Tim Gunn gets to travel to see them, Yeah. So it was kind of odd that Anthony's mentioned his mom quite a bit on this season and clearly has a strong relationship with her, but they didn't even fly out the potential winner's parents. Was just kind of odd. And then my final quote was Zach posing on Anthony, and I loved this. I think there was a lot of good quotes this week, but he was, after Anthony won, he said, "Take this joy and spread it to the world. Make beautiful things." And as a designer talking to a designer, I think that would just be so amazing to hear. But then also in terms of the world right now and all the nasty things, they're always happening, but it feels right now everything's just really heavy and hard for a lot of people in the world. That's if you have a talent like he does and you have a joy for life like he seems to, he's always making jokes and things, then I think you have a responsibility to share that and to spread it around. And I really like that. And I like that Zach Posen kind of sees it the same way. So That's all I had. Do you have any closing thoughts for season 6 of Project Runway All-Stars?
Honestly, not a ton. It was a good season. Didn't go, like we probably hoped. I mean, definitely liked the ending out of this final set of designers. But I mean, it was kind of a weird one with all the like ladies getting eliminated so early and so just like one after the other. That was just
8 in a row, I think.
Yeah, it was a weird vibe. Like, I think this season it started out really strong because it had like a really, really great group of people. And it was like exciting to see their new studio. I really liked their workroom. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool space, and like the new runway shape, that was kind of fun. But I don't know, this season, to be honest, like it did fall a little flat for me because, like, you know, so many of our favorite picks were like eliminated so early. That was just like heartbreaking. And then like they totally abandoned their like initial theme of rookies versus vets. Like that had no significance at all. It was never mentioned again. But I mean, it did have some fun challenges. As much as like I rolled my eyes at all the puns, I did like the unconventional balls challenge. That was kind of fun. And like, I don't know, it was cool to see Isaac Mizrahi's work, because I really didn't know a lot about like his actual design work, so that was kind of cool. I liked the Smithsonian, but I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I think as a whole it was a bit underwhelming. I remember being so excited for the first episode. And even though Alyssa Milano said like they weren't going to do the rookies versus vets thing like on teams again, they didn't even mention it after that. Like, It was nice this episode. I should have mentioned in this episode we did have some flashbacks and cutaways to the folks' other seasons. So we got to see like Stanley's season and when he was eliminated. We got to see Fabio's like season on normal runway, and then All Stars, and then same thing with Anthony. So that was nice because I had missed all of their regular seasons because I missed a few seasons in the middle there. So that was nice. But yeah, we started off with this really strong group of designers, and then like the challenges just weren't very exciting. Like we didn't travel anywhere. We only had one unconventional challenge. We had a couple twists, but they were all saved for like one episode. And it was just kind of like lackluster. But at the same time, we got a really good runway finale show out of it. So it's hard to say. And I think we had some interesting guest judges and stuff. So, and then I loved the museums and like the astrology kind of thing they did with the space. I just wish that the challenges were a little more interesting for some of those locations. But I think overall this season was a lot like last season, where it's just like I get super excited and then it's just a little underwhelming, which is a bit of a bummer for the show. But I have heard they are currently, or they just closed auditions for the next season of normal Project Runway, so that would be season 17. And then they are going to start auditioning for season 7 of All Stars. But the Harvey Weinstein Company has gone bankrupt, and they held the rights to this show. So it's hard to say if we will have a Project Runway in the future. So they were going through the audition process, and we've heard a few things maybe were already even taped. But it's hard to say, just because they have footage doesn't mean they're going to air it if there's not a channel to pick it up or a production company to pick it up. So it could be fine. We could see in August, Project Runway season 17, and we'll definitely be there to cover it for sure. But if there isn't, I think it'll be kind of the end of a really great era of reality TV. I think there's no other show quite like Project Runway in terms of the creativeness of the contestants on, at its base, it's a reality TV show where contestants, face off to win some money. But I think since its beginning, it's always been more interesting than, some of the other reality shows out there. And it has some interesting twists and turns and some just designers that you saw years ago and now they're famous and they, You can buy their clothes in a store and you can watch them go to Fashion Week. So I think it's just kind of a unique show. So I hope all that works out and another company picks it up, or Lifetime or another TV channel. Maybe they could even go back to Bravo. I don't know. But hopefully the future of the show is positive and bright. But right now it's kind of in a weird flux situation. So, but otherwise, I think that's it for us.
Yep.
But we'll definitely be back if there's seasons in the future. And we want to thank you all for sticking with us, listening to us. We really, really appreciate it. And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Runway. We are on YouTube, Podiant, Apple, iTunes, and podcasts, Google Play, most other podcast sites out there. We are there, so you can find us, share us with your friends, relive the season, play by play, blow by blow, stitch by stitch with Runway from the Wrap. Otherwise, I think that's it for us, and we will see you all next time.